Hello and welcome to Opportunity Home San Antonio's special board meeting. Please note this meeting will be recorded in its entirety. I will begin by conducting Commissioner roll call. Chair Gabriel Lopez.
Here.
Barbara Unkama Burford. Vice Chair Gilbert Casillas. Dalia Contreras.
Here.
Estrellita Garcia Diaz.
She's coming in.
Janet Garcia.
Here.
Leela Powell.
Here.
Noted Vice Chair Gilbert Casillas is present. Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
President and CEO Michael Reyes.
Here.
We also have an interpreter at the back of the room should you need their support. You may now call the meeting to order.
Thank you. The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
We have 3 citizens signed up to speak.
Val?
Our first citizen is Ramon Navarro.
Please note Commissioner Burford is in the meeting.
Let me catch my breath. I've never done this before, so I'm kind of like, and I don't want anybody to undress, okay? We're good with that. Okay, my name is Ramon Navarro. I'm glad you all took your time to be here. I have a particular peeve, which is a little bit of security, but it's also the lack of security. When I first came here 3 years ago, we had little to no security at all. And then there was a time period that there was no security. And then as time went on, as the elevators were getting fixed, we started having security that would watch the fire alarms if something went off so they could check it. People would always go to them, residents would always go to them and ask them questions about, about this, that, and the other, and their just main job was just sitting there and watching the fire alarm. Well, in time come on, they started working, and they started working good. They had more hours, and if you want to talk of progress, they, at least that I know of, busted 4 drug mules, some dealers, and whatever other crimes that they had to do. But since their hours cut recently, I've always known that there's a drug problem here. But it kind of became organized crime as of Friday at 6:45. I'll explain. 6:45, a Bandido affiliate parked in front of the building. He cut off and started walking to the door. I was right behind him, following him. I wanted to see who was going to let him in, and it turned out it was a resident. They gave each other a big hug, and they went to the 11th floor. That's where the main big dealer's at, on the 11th floor. So, in 6 minutes after they arrived, that same resident went downstairs, out the front door, and there was a yellow 2-story house over there. And he went and made two deals, 2 different residents and made a deal. It is now organized because now this is a distribution center for what's going around here. And when we had security, that was really cut down a lot. I've been told that there's been a lack of money. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. But the problem is, even if there was a lack of money, we have a lot of little grandmas here, sweet little grandmas. They don't have a husband for whatever the reason, and they're left alone. And we're having people who are residents, ex-residents, and people off the street that can come here and buy drugs. That's because there's no one in the daytime and the hours have been cut. I'm asking that you revise that and think about the little grandmas who could have been yours up here, and something could happen. At 7 o'clock p.m., most of them will go in their apartment, lock the place up, and you won't see them till the next day. That's not the way to live. You guys don't live that way. There's no reason that these old people should win that way. Thank you very much. Oh, when will I know or have an answer to what I just had to speak of? Is there?
So staff is taking notes of this, and someone from staff will reach out to you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Martha Simmons.
Hello, I want to say hello, and I appreciate you all being here. My issue is the work that they say they're going to do, when are they going to finish so we can get our lives back together, like the working on the apartments, the building, whatever. They're supposed to come in and move the stoves and rewire them or whatever. I just need to know when it's gonna be done and when it's gonna be finished, so I can get my life back together. That's the only issue I have.
Thank you.
Talking about the retrofit.
Our next speaker is Eduardo Castro.
He says he doesn't want to speak.
That concludes the individuals signed up to speak.
So that the residents are aware, staff does take notes of this, and then it gets reported back out to the Board of Directors. So we will get a follow-up from this at our next meeting, but you will hear from somebody before that.
When's the next meeting?
First Wednesday of May is our next scheduled meeting.
And you have to sign up, how many, what time, before what time to speak?
By noon, day of the meeting. 15 minutes prior to a meeting start. Our next meeting will be the first Wednesday in May, and it'll be at our main offices on 818 Florida Street. At 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock. All right, with no other citizens, we have minutes from the April 2nd San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation. Let me make sure that's correct. Nope, no one.
I move we approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Let me reverse that. I was on the wrong meeting. I'm going to come back to the board meeting. We have individual items, consideration and appropriate action regarding 6744, authorizing the award of contracts for pest control services for public housing and administrative properties to Nova Pest Control, Pied Piper Pest Control, Worldwide Pest Control, for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $2 million for a period of 1 year, with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, Director of Procurement.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today, I'm presenting 4 items for your consideration and approval. These items are crucial to maintaining our safety, comfort, and quality of life for our residents and the efficient operation of our properties. I will present them in the following order. The first one is, the first item is Resolution 6744, concerning pest control services for public housing and administrative properties. We are requesting authorization to award contracts to Nova Pest Control LLC, Pied Piper Pest Control Services LLC, and the Worldwide Pest Control Services Incorporated for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $2 million. Opportunity Home requires pest control services for various properties, including public housing, several scattered sites, and administrative offices. These services will implement an integrated pest management program to control pests in the safest and most environmentally sensitive manner. Just a little background on the procurement process. A request for proposals was issued on November 12, 2024, and closed on November 21 days later after that. The RFP was published on Opportunity Homes e-procurement website, the Heartbeat, and directly solicited to 59 vendors. 3 proposals were received in this response to this RFP. All 3 proposals demonstrated the qualifications and capacity to meet our requirements. Therefore, we are recommending awarding contracts to all 3 of these vendors. Any questions?
I keep hearing from residents where I live, and that usually it's Pied Piper that's there, that they think that the spray is watered down or something, because we still have issues with roaches in the building.
Yes, sir.
And I know that a lot of times when they spray, you can smell the spray in your apartment, and we don't. And they basically come through and will like psst by the stove and psst by the refrigerator, and then go into the bathroom and spray, and they're out. You know, they don't really spray, you know, the apartment. So, and I keep hearing from people all the time, oh, they water, or it's water, or whatever, you know, and I spray my own apartment all the time with Raid, all over. And I still have roaches that like come through the sinks, I guess, from other apartments or through the shower drain and stuff like that. But that's just a concern. We want to make sure that if we're paying for these services, that they're using the correct materials and that it's being done correctly.
Yes, sir. And we could definitely look into that. One of the things that with our contract pricing, it allows us to come and get repetitive touch-ups or follow-ups in case there is an increased amount of pests. So we can actually go, have them come back and look at the property and make sure that they're actually taking care of the problem if needed. So we'll definitely look into that, sir.
And I do tell residents when they say that if they're having issues to contact the management to, that if they need to redo the apartment
Yes,
or
sir.
whatever, they can have it done.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? With none, I'll get a motion for Resolution 6744.
So moved.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Clears. Item number 4, Resolution 6745, authorizing the award of a contract for access control and security cameras to Lakeway Security for an amount not to exceed $1.233675 for 1 year and $66,200 for years 2 through 5 for a period of 1 year, years 2 through 5, with the option to renew up to 4 additional 1-year terms. George Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, Commissioner, the second item is Resolution 6745 concerning access control and security cameras. We are requesting your approval to award a contract to Lakeway Security for the amount not to exceed $1,233,675 for the first year and $66,200 for years 2 to 5. This project aims to enhance the security across various public housing communities by providing intrusion protection, security cameras, access control, and a panic button installation. The services include motion-activated security lights, upgraded entry door locking systems, motion detection, and glass breaking devices. The camera solution will be network-based, allowing the video for video viewing, storage, and download from a wide area network. This also results in a savings of $400,000 per year by eliminating bandwidth and cloud access subscription costs. With regards to the procurement process, a request for proposal was issued in December and closed on January 31st, 2025. The RFP was published on Opportunities Homes e-procurement websites, the Heartbeat, and solicited directly to 13 vendors. After conclusion, 10 proposals were received in response to the solicitation. After a thorough evaluation process, Lakeway Security was identified as the highest rated proposer. They have a strong background in security infrastructure and have performed satisfactory in prior work with Opportunity Home. And at this point, we're recommending the award to Lakeway. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. How are you?
Good.
I'm gonna take you through the camera project and what we've done and what we are planning to do with this Phase 2. Just as a reminder of our focus as part of our mission and being able to provide the best tools that we can for staff to be able to use the cameras in any way that they can to prevent incidents that happen. Installing these cameras have really gone a long way in that we're able to provide really good quality video to SAPD when they need it, and we're also able to get the video quickly to them and in a very timely manner. Besides all that, we've installed fobs and intrusion protection and alarms to help our residents feel a little bit more safe and comfortable as well. So Phase 1, as you know, we completed the mid to high rise project. And that included 18 properties where we went out and we put several cameras out there. I'm going to find myself, hold on. Okay. And We had over 229 cameras that we installed. In addition to that, we did intrusion alarms, panic buttons, as George mentioned, and access control. That was completed on June 20th, 2024. I wanted to bring this up as a reminder of what we have already done and the cameras that are already at these properties. Because part of the next phase two is that we're also going back to these mid to high-rise properties, and we're, as you can see the list there of the properties, the 18 properties, and now, as a result of our CEO's discovery tour, if you will, when he went to go visit all the public housing properties, he asked staff, what are your challenges? What are you facing? And we heard them, and they said that we needed more cameras in certain places to help us with homelessness, to help us with a lot of the intrusion that they're getting, thefts in the parking lot and things like that. And also people that are dumping in our areas, and we're not able to keep up with the trash in a lot of our properties. So we went back, we included it in this RFP, and we're adding 399 total cameras to these properties, some in the laundry rooms, the dumpster areas, and their stairwells. The stairwells are a huge problem for our property managers. They try very hard to keep up with everything that's going on in those stairwells. So they did strongly request to us that we go back and put more cameras in the stairwells. And then again, the laundry rooms as well, because that's where sometimes people gather and they're able to really look and see what is going on throughout the property. So we're adding 399 cameras to the mid to high rise properties. In addition to that, we're also adding more properties here as part of our family properties now. Casiano, Charles Andrews, Cross Creek, Francis Fury, you can see the list there. And we're adding another 130 cameras, and we're also including some intrusion protection. You see some no's there under intrusion protection. That means that those properties don't have offices, so they don't need the fobs and the entry and things like that. So we're also including those panic buttons that George mentioned. Those are for our staff to be able to protect themselves. They hang them on their lanyards. They have them with them at all time, and they're able to push the panic button should they need it. And the alarms will go off. And then, of course, we have access control at these properties. This phase will begin as soon as the award is completed at the board meeting on May 7th. The standalone that we mentioned there was Village East. We're going to be adding 12 cameras there. Village East does not have an office. It does not have a network. We had to get very, very creative to be able to put the cameras out there. But of course, with my network team, we've been able to design something that's going to work for Village East. So we're going to be adding 12 cameras. We're in the process of awarding that quick quote that we did as well. But I want to mention it that we're including Village East as part of our overall solution. I'm open for questions.
Can you talk about two things? I mean, security cameras is an issue that comes up quite often in lots of different properties that we are responsible for. Can you tell us a little bit about how you prioritized who's going to be receiving the benefits of this first round of work? You know, what types of things you put into consideration. The second thing I'd love to hear about is, unlike the others like pest control and HVAC, like that's built into our budget already. You know, you're basically, you know, it's not clearly spelled out, and this is feedback in the procurement update. Like we understand the financial impact. You don't compare it to what we have, and this is budgeted, and it's within budget. You know, that would be helpful for us to see, because it's always a question, right? Are you asking us to spend within budget? Are you asking us to go outside of budget? With the security piece in particular, this is just feedback in general for all four of the solicitations that are in here. But with this one in specific, the reason we don't get to do a lot of this is because it does cost a lot of money and there is a trade-off. So can you tell us also a little bit about how this is being funded and what trade-offs were made within the organization to make this possible?
Absolutely. So I'm going to answer according to my understanding, and George may want to add, but so these projects are covered by CFP funds.
Okay.
So the over $1 million that he quoted is the CFP funds. The support and maintenance is not covered under a CFP fund. So that does go into the operational budget. And if you go back to the slide of the financial impact, you could see there that we mentioned $66,200 for years 2 through 5 would be part of the ongoing support maintenance at $66,200. That is what will hit the operating budget.
Okay. I think it'd be great in the future to clearly spell out beyond the numbers in the financial impact slides, like where the money is coming from and what's in budget or what's out of budget.
We will do that, ma'am. And then as far as what we chose, I might let Domingo talk about it, because he and I and George, we're all working together in collaboration to make sure that all these projects go through. We, of course, do it from the technology perspective. He does it from the security perspective, and collaboratively, we've been able to really, really do amazing things together. So I'll let him speak too, because he's the one that gives us the properties. I don't choose that. That's not my wheelhouse. I just make sure the equipment's in. So he can talk about that. But what I do want to say is that we do go, and part of why this may take a little longer is when we do the RFP process, we do a lot. We do site surveys with vendors, the ones that have submitted their submission to the RFP. This time it was 10 vendors, and we had to do a schedule to all of these properties. We do not leave anything out. They all are able to go out to the properties and review what we have provided. In the RFP, we provided design, suggested design based on Domingo's input, and they come back and say, well, we suggest this as experts in their world, right? We suggest this, we should suggest that, right? But they really need to stay within the scope of work that we provide. With that, Domingo does a lot of analysis and looks at his data to determine which are the priority, which are the properties that are having more issues and problems. This is, what we're going to include in this particular solicitation and this project. But I'll let him speak more. He's right here. I don't want to speak more for him.
Thank you, Commissioner. What we do is we track the crime stats, but not just every month. We actually track them over the course of 2 years. And this gives us an opportunity to identify the top properties that are the candidates for this type of security enhancement.
George, did you want to add anything? We're good?
Like Joanna said, this is being funded out of capital funds program. We'll take your recommendation and then add that to the slides from here on. I think it is important for you all to have that in front of you. But yeah, if you all have any questions, any other questions?
I do. I have a question. So what is the process? How long is it gonna take? And is there like a projection date if, like?
Yes, so as I said, what happens is as soon as the award is granted by approved by the board on May 7th, by the next week, we're having our kickoff meeting. We then get the timeline at that point. Every week, we're having cadence meetings, and we expect this to be done hopefully within 60 to 90 days. I'm shooting for the end of this fiscal year just because I like to end projects at the end of the fiscal year, but the vendor will be able to tell us more on when that happens. But we immediately kick off as soon as we're awarded.
I do have a question regarding the vendor. Could you give me a little bit of background with regard to their capacity to fulfill the maintenance and monitoring portion of the contract? Just a little bit about who they are and what their service level agreements are with us in order to ensure that those cameras and security is up and running at all times.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to introduce you right now. It's a good time to introduce Chris Thomas, who is the owner of Lakeway Security.
Thank you.
If it's okay, can he answer those questions? Okay, he's going to go ahead and answer those questions.
Hi, thank you. My name is Chris Tomez, and I am the owner of Lakeway Security, and that's a great question. So basically, we have a service agreement that includes advanced replacement on all the cameras, 24 to 48-hour response if something goes down. So normally, when there's an issue with the camera or with the server, the client will call us. We'll schedule a time to go out there. We'll take the camera down. We'll ship it off to the manufacturer. The manufacturer ships it back. It could be 2 to 3 weeks later. Then you're paying for us to come out there, you're paying for us to reinstall it, and your camera might be down for anywhere between 4 to 5 weeks. With the service agreement, we're gonna come out there and we'll do an advanced replacement. If the hard drive goes bad, we'll replace the hard drive. Initially, I know that the budgets have cut, and that's across everywhere. We do homeless shelters up in Austin. We have 5 different homeless shelters. We do police departments, chemical plants, all over the map. Austin, Wyoming, California, things of that sort. So we have developed our system to where we can do it from off-site. So we have switches that we can remote into. So if there's a problem, we can try to remote from off-site. We update firmware from off-site. If there's an issue or problem, we have layouts and drawings for each of the camera systems. So when we do send somebody out there that's never been to building 12, we can tell them camera 24 is on the 3rd floor next to the exit stairwell. So we've been doing this, I've been in business since 2001. I've had my company since 2010. So we've been doing this for quite some time. Our projects range anywhere between $200,000 to $1 million. And so that's kind of where we play ball at. The other thing that they did not mention is that I'd put in the top-of-the-line camera systems for this particular project. I wanted to make sure that y'all were set up for the future, and we're not coming back and saying, geez, I really wish I'd put in a higher quality camera. Every single camera that we designed on the exterior is gonna be 4K. It's gonna have analytics such as line crossing. It also has H.265 and what's called a WiseNet wave stream. And what that does is that changes the bandwidth so that you can put more onto your hard drive. Because we have a local server that is gonna be there, if you have a camera system and you only have a couple weeks worth of recording time and something happens, you can't go back. So a lot of times you don't figure something out until maybe a week or two later, sometimes longer than that. If there's a police that comes in and they're like, something happened a month and a half ago, we want to be able to do that. We have a total of 60 days recording on all of your systems. I have a system set up to where if there's any issues with the network or if a camera goes off, we get an alert from that. Because of the service agreement, we have a dedicated individual where his job is to basically monitor all of your systems. So if a network goes down or if a system goes down, we know about it before y'all do typically, and we'll schedule to have somebody come out there. And that's kind of how we set that up. And yeah.
Is that individual based here?
Say that again?
Is the individual based in San Antonio?
Is what individual?
You said we'll have a dedicated individual that monitors our cameras?
No, he's in Austin, Texas. So we do it from off-site. I am having an office set up here of the installations. I have 3 different crews, and so you're asking as far as timeline to get done. You have a total of, I think, 31 properties total. We're trying to do 10 per month, so we're looking about 90 days. Some cameras, I think you have 10 to 12, and some of them are like 50 to 60. So it just depends. We have done some Wi-Fi expansion here, so I am familiar with a lot of the locations and how to do the installations. And so I know how to run the wires and put all that stuff up, as point to points, all those things. So that's where my background runs.
Why would it take 5 weeks to replace a camera if it went down?
That would be normal. So like if you have no service agreement, then we don't prioritize you. So we're busy typically about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So if somebody calls us, normally we would say, okay, the earliest we can get somebody out there would be next week. And then they would come out there, they would say, okay, the camera's not good, but it's still under a manufacturer's warranty. So we take the camera down, we ship it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer gets it, they say, yes, it's under warranty. They then fix it. They then would ship it back. Once we get it back, you get back on the calendar for us to come out there. We would come out there again and then do the reinstallation of that camera. And so that's why the process takes that long when you're not under a service agreement.
But we are.
Yes, you're under a service agreement, so you don't have
I
that.
was like,
So in your case, we don't want downtime. So one of the things that we've noticed is, especially like I do Austin, Texas, I do all the homeless shelters there, so they can't have downtime because something happens, we have to get out there quickly.
What's your commitment in terms of getting any camera back online? 1 day, 2 hours?
Yeah, it's going to be between 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
And so basically, you have your own 800 number as well. So that's not tied, to our website as well. So when that number comes in, it dials myself, it dials our technicians, and our whole team knows that that's an answer that you answer. You're prioritized. We come out there quickly, and we have extra cameras as well. So when our guys do come out there, in the event that it's a bad camera, we take that camera down, we put up the new camera, and then we ship out that camera, and we end up just keeping that one, and then y'all keep that one.
So it's not 4 to 5 weeks like you said?
No. That's if you do not have a service agreement.
Okay.
The other thing also too, just wanted to note was that I ended up cutting the service agreement in half as far as what the cost is. So the normal cost for that would be closer to about $120,000 per year for that many devices. So I cut it in half just to work with it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I add,
Hold on just a moment. Hold on. So I just want to say a couple things. We have done business before with Lakeway Security, and they've been extremely responsive. We always, of course, consider that. We're not going to want to go into business with someone that doesn't live up to our standards. I also want to mention that I have an excellent network team, even though they're just a team of 2. I want to recognize them. They're Joey Barra and Pepito Nieva. Can y'all stand up real quick, please? Woo! Yes. These guys are everywhere. I mean, I don't want to call them Batman and Robin because then one of them might feel like they're Batman too, but they're the dynamic duo for real. I mean, so when any vendor cannot come out and deal with a camera right away, they're there. They're the ones that help me support the residential Wi-Fi, the network, the security. They have just added our vast security network to their work, right? So they are in constant communication with all of our vendors, right? And so they make sure that they come out when they can. In the meantime, they go out there, and they've been known to fix things right away before the vendor can even get there. And that's any vendor. Not every vendor comes out lickety-split, okay? We have little issues with all of them, okay? But a lot of them perform very well. Lakeway Security has been one of them. Security is their forte. That's the first thing that is part of their business. But even though they're in Austin, I haven't noticed any different. He brings a crew in, like he said. If he puts them up in hotels or at Airbnb, they're here for the duration to be able to install and get it done. And they're also extremely quick. I'm amazed at how many cameras and infrastructure issues that we have run into that they have had to jump hoops through and get things done. So I'm really excited to partner with them again on this, because I know we're going to have excellent results. They're very attentive in our project management as well. So I believe that this is gonna go faster than he said. Also, one more thing, he is a great partner, Christopher. He comes to our Fiesta events. We have a blast. He dresses up in costume with his wife, and he brings his team, and we've had a great time. And he really believes in our mission. I just really want to bring that home, because we have talked about it extensively. He sends me emails all the time. That's why he's cut costs for us, because he also knows we have certain budgets. And by the way, the CFP funds that we earmarked for this were 1.5 million. We came in at 1.3. And that's because of his bid, obviously why he's here. All right, Domingo, sorry.
Commissioner Garcia, you raised an excellent point about monitoring. These cameras, to Chris's point, are so sophisticated that they auto-report when they go down. We have information that we receive every single day from SAPD Fusion, so we know where the crimes are taking place. We also have something, thank you for this, Joanna, we can remotely view. So we have 2 crime analysts and myself. Anything that happens anywhere that has cameras, we're able to provide that to SAPD in real time. They've become so interdependent on this that I've got to thank you publicly for giving us the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Joanne, first of all, thank you for the upgrades that are being done. Couple of questions. Intrusion alarms, are those on doors that may be pulled open and alarm goes off?
Yes.
That aren't open with a key fob?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we're also looking at getting, you can speak to that, Domingo.
Well, this is one of our biggest concerns, is, to your point, the stairwell. Joanna was talking about that earlier. A lot of our residents have a tendency to put rocks there. So now we're going to have alarms that are going to emanate a loud siren to let us know that the door has been propped open. So thank you for that.
Okay.
That's at a low cost, and it's not on today's agenda, just letting you know that we're addressing that issue as well.
Okay, because you were saying intrusion alarm was included on the phase 2.
Yes.
Also, the cameras that are going on the stairwells, are they going just on the entry point from the first floor or outside, or will there be a camera on every floor?
I think they're all
on the
inside,
stairwells?
They're basically, the main point of entry is our focus, and then as many as we can afford, because in my perfect world, we would have them on every single landing, but this is where we work with Joanna and being able to stay in the budget. So the entry points, for sure, we see who goes in and who goes out, and then in certain levels, especially like laundry rooms, elevators, hallways.
Because, well, I see hallways aren't on here, but I was thinking if they were at every level on the stairwells, we wouldn't need them in the hallways, because we would know what floor they're going into. And I know that staff worry about that when I visit different properties, and I speak with them, and also residents are concerned about that. You know, if something happens on the floor, no one can tell because the camera's just at the elevator. So if someone comes up the stairwell, we don't know what floor they went to. And it's good to know who enters the buildings because of what happened at one of our other properties last week. And we were able to identify, or you all were able to identify who did it.
Yes, sir.
And so that's why I feel that the cameras are important, and I'm glad that you all are upgrading to this level. But I think hallways are also very important, so we know where they're going on the floor.
We do have a view of a portion of the hallway. That's what happened at that property that you're making reference to. It's not a complete view, but it's basically a happy compromise.
And the way that we have the design currently is, so let's say that this is a hallway here and this is a hallway there and that's the exit. We'll put it to where it sees everybody who can go in the stairway, inside the stairwell and who goes out. Because you want to see, just like you said, if something happens and they go in there, you'll be able to go back through the camera system, and if somebody stays in that stairwell for a long time, you'll be able to know that. And so we want to make sure we see exactly where that individual goes. It's real important to get the right location. Some people just put the cameras up, like, oh, I got it, I'll just put a camera here and put a camera there. I'm very big on making sure that we catch what happens, because they need to be able to see the angles. Like, for example, like this hallway going this way and going this way, if I put a camera going here, coming this way, you'll miss this way. So I'll have my guys run the wire the extra 20 feet or 50 feet because we have to get this. The idea is to have less cameras and get more space. And I don't put cameras very high, so when we're outside, so that you're looking down, I put them a little bit lower so they can see the face. A lot of times people will come in, they'll have their hat down, you can't identify them. If you can't identify them, the camera system does you no good. So the cameras have to work, they have to be able to have a good vision of what's going on, and so that's what the design is about. So,
And my concern basically is that like some buildings, you know, the stairwells are over at the ends and you come in and then the building is like a T. The hallway's here and the elevators are here.
Right.
And the cameras are there, but you really don't know where they're going.
yeah, so, and I just walked the building, I forget the property it was, but I remember they had like the elevators there, and they did have an older camera, an analog that was sitting there facing right at the elevator. It's a wasted camera because it's looking just right at the elevator. So if they bring that camera back 15 feet, it'll still see the elevator, but it'll also see down the hallway as well. And that's just about the design aspect. That's probably somebody that, I mean, it was a long time ago, probably 15, 20 years ago, when people didn't realize that you could, you know, face it two different ways, or maybe it took more work. And sometimes people will go, you know, and they'll avoid that.
Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because I did write the RFP for the 18 properties that are part of the phase one that we did add stairwell cameras to them. There is a camera on every floor per every stairwell. So that is included in this RFP.
Thank you, Joe.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I just have one request to wrap up. Thank you for your comment of we use data. That's helpful. The board doesn't see that data. And so, like, I find the matrix, the scoring matrix for how you score vendors based on, like, what criteria you use to decide this is it. A similar matrix for how you all decide which properties to prioritize when we're looking at the portfolio for Opportunity Home. We have limited resources. Not everybody's going to be a part of phase one, phase two. How do you all decide? Just a high level snapshot of that scoring matrix that led to the folks that are on here. That will be helpful for us as a board when we get asked questions on why this property and not that property, or when we have, you know, meetings like today on site and they might not be a site that's getting the phase one or phase two cameras. We usually don't know, and we don't have the data to back it up. And so that would be really helpful for us to, you know, you don't have to answer it now, but if you have the matrix that you use to determine who to prioritize, I'd like to see that.
Actually, we do have the matrix, and we follow 3, which is basically a national standard. And that's property crime, violent crime, and crimes against society. This is how the FBI measured it, and so does SAPD.
Great.
So we have that broken down, but not just by property. We also have it broken down by portfolio.
That's
That would be
excellent.
good for us to see.
Thank you.
I'd love to show you.
Absolutely.
Without diving in all the way into
Yeah.
it, just high level.
Don't put us in the weeds, high level.
Yeah, just high level.
Okay, we'll
Thank you.
leave you out of the weeds. So
Okay.
that's precisely why we did the slides, because we at least wanted you to have the list of properties, what is going where, what we did in the first phase, which properties we hit, you know, who has intrusion protection, who has cameras, and so on, and then what we're doing next, right? And that within 90 days, this project will be completed.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Joanne.
With no more other questions or comments, I'll take a motion on item number 4, resolution 6745.
I make a motion to approve.
But first, we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Gladly.
Item passes. Item number 5, resolution 6746, authorizing the award of contracts for bulk pickup services and organization-wide to Bulkaway, Will Luck Enterprises, DBA Junk King San Antonio, Go About Doing Good Corporation, DBA Junk Shot of San Antonio, and R&J Munoz Remodeling, for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $2 million for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, Director of Procurement.
Thank you, Commissioner. Resolution 6746, as Commissioner mentioned, is recommendation to award bulk pickup services to the 4 vendors as noted. As you know, Opportunity Home requires services to remove items that are too large for regular waste disposal, such as furniture, mattresses, and appliances from our properties. This particular solicitation was issued on July 17, 2024, and closed on August 4, 2024. This IFB was published on Opportunity's Home e-procurement website, The Heartbeat, and directly solicited to 329 vendors. After the conclusion, we received 6 proposals, and at this point, staff is recommending contracts to Bulkaway LLC, Junking San Antonio, Junk Shot, and R&J Muniz, as they provided the lowest cost for these services. Any questions?
I do have a
Yes, ma'am.
question. It's really not about the content, it's about process. So it looks like the solicitation closed last August,
Yes, ma'am.
so it's about 6 months ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we take into account that prices change over 6 months? Or how do we, if there's that big of a gap between the submittal of proposals and the award of the contract, is there any ability to adjust cost at that time?
Yes, ma'am. So this actually happened because of the fact that we were actually transitioning in some of our leadership. So we wanted to give them the opportunity to really go into depth and look at their structure and their needs. So what happened is that these vendors were contacted again and asked if the prices still remain the same, including the additional vendors that actually submitted for them, but they weren't selected. In addition, we did participate in a couple of vendor expos, which we gathered some new vendors, so we actually contracted them as well. Unfortunately, they came a little bit higher, so that's why these vendors were still considered, and that process was still good for us to proceed with.
Thank you.
How are bulk items handled when you have like move-outs or people throw large items like couches, beds, dressers, and that fill up or are left out on the ground? Does management normally call bulk pickup or something? They come pick it up right away?
Yeah. So let me ask Ruth to kind of explain that process.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So yes, anytime a resident moves out and leaves personal belongings behind or trash, anything like that, we do hire, and we can hire one of our waste management or bulk pickup companies to go ahead and remove those items. And if it's not a large space, then we have our individual staff, our maintenance team at times will pick up those items and dispose of them accordingly.
I'm talking about those that are left like in the dumpster areas that they don't fit in the dumpster and they're just left out on the ground. I'm not talking about from the apartments. I'm talking about like, will they be called and come pick that up?
Yes, those are called special services, and they do special bulk pickups, yes.
With no other questions, I'll take a motion on item number 5, 6746.
So moved?
Second.
First, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, Resolution 6752, authorizing the award of contracts for purchase, installation, and maintenance and repair of residential HVAC systems to Airstream General Construction, DBA Airstream Heating and AC, JRV Home Services, MJTR Contractors, DBA J National, and Premier Solutions for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $4 million for a period of 1 year with the option to renew up to 4 additional one-year terms. George Ayala, you're still up.
Yes, sir. So the fourth and final item is Resolution 6752, covering the purchase, installation, and maintenance and repair of residential HVAC systems. We are seeking approval to award contracts to Airstream, Airstream Construction, JRV Home Services, MJTR Contractors, DBA J National, and Premier Solutions LLC for an annual cumulative amount not to exceed $4 million. As you all will know, Opportunity Home has a variety of makes and models for residential HVAC and mini splits, including Goodwin, American Standard, Carrier, Train, etc. These range from 1.5 tons to 5 tons and require services from vendors to purchase, install, and provide routine maintenance to this systems organization-wide. As far as the procurement process, a request for proposals was issued on February 19, 2025, and it closed on March 11, 2025. This IFP was published on Opportunities Homes website, The Heartbeat, and solicited to 301 vendors. After the conclusion, we did receive 7 proposals, and they were, after evaluating these proposals, based on the criteria including experience, capacity, price, staff is recommending contracts to the 4 highest rated vendors. These vendors demonstrate the capacity and expertise to meet our needs. Any questions?
Do we have any questions with regards to item number 6? With no questions, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 6 carries. Item number 7, consideration and appropriate action regarding Resolution 6751, approving the Creekside at Lookout residence transaction, including authorizing the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve Resolution 25 FAC-04-02, authorizing its participation in the Creekside at Lookout residence transaction and other matters in connection therewith. Timothy Alcott, EVP.
All right. So we brought this project to you last December for a concept because it was Rajiv Pure, if you remember him. He came and we were at an off-site location and we talked about this project. And since then, he's put funds into it to build out this project. We've gone and looked at the site. Now Mike was there the last weekend, actually looking at the site. And so with the concept, he's gone through it, and this would be a PFC development, which is similar to the one we just saw with David Land moments ago, an hour or so ago. And so what we have done since then, and this is underneath the new law, and what that means is, because there's legislative session now, 2 years ago, there was a lot of changes in the law on 303 deals, or PFCs are in Chapter 303, and they made it a law requirements. And so one of it was that we have to go to the highest elected official in the city or county, depending on if you're county or city, but we're the city. So we're going to PCDC the 28th of this month, 24th. That's why Lorraine's here. The 24th of this month, and we've talked to, or Hector Morales, to be more clear, has talked to 2 of the city council people, and no questions. The third one we haven't spoken to. But like all these deals, under the new law, it corrected a lot of the abuses that we saw more than 3 years ago, and incidentally, we were already not doing deals with what was abused. But so, and just to tell you what those are, and I won't take too much of your time, but the rents are capped at 30% of their income. There's an adjustment for family size. So in other words, you can't charge a family of 4 in a 1-bedroom unit. And so there's a lot of things like that that went through it. We did also, and we had to post it 30 days before it goes to city council on our website, an affordability analysis. And what that does is it looks at the site and says, given your rents that you're charging, is a tax exemption necessary? And he came back and said, yes, in order for you to build this project at this price, and the rents that you're capped at, is it necessary to have a tax exemption? And so that came back. So we published that. And so those are the things that have happened since then. And so what we're asking for you today is actually the final approval on this project. And I should be flipping these slides. I start talking. But this is Athena Domain. I think y'all remember who he is. We'll go back one more. So that's the AMIs. It's 10% at 60% AMI, 40% at 80% AMI. I can turn my glasses here to see the rest of the thing. And that's the site. It's right there at Lookout Road in 1604. It's by the racetrack, so the horse track, that is. It's really close by. It's 143 units are 1 bedrooms, 89 are 2 bedrooms. We talked about it under the new law in Section 303. And it's in City Council District 10. Go to the next slide. And there's that total construction cost. The land was $4 million. The other thing that's neat about this is that it's been very hard for us over the years to get deals done north of 1604 on the north side, and so that goes everywhere from 35 all the way past I-10 really. And so if you looked at the map of all of our developments, we have very few north of 1604. And so the first ones that you'd be seeing are these sort of PFC deals. And not to belabor this, and so I'm not here talking all the time, but I'll remind the board that the funds that we get from these PFC deals, they go into different buckets. If this thing works, it doesn't work. But it has different buckets that it goes into. One of them is a mitigation fund. If you go back a couple more slides. One more. Yep. And so you'll see the first bullet points of 2, 4, 6 of them. You'll say that, the policy is that with the funds, we create more units below 50% AMI. We use the funds for upgrading public housing units, which is typically 0 to 15% AMI. Budget gaps, and so a lot of times we're buying these deals back at year 15. The tax credit deals, there's gaps. And that's what we are bringing those back for y'all's approval, but it's also supported services for rent mitigation funds, so if people aren't paying the rent. Acquiring new properties, as we hit the year 15, I mentioned that. And then the last thing is, if there's any money left over after doing all that, we can put some in reserves. Which, anyway, I'm asking for approval of this transaction.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can just add some information to what Tim said. Tim said this is the last step. Yes and no. There's 11 steps in the development process. This is step number 4.
Okay.
This is the last step for the final approval, but after this, we still would need financial closing, the construction start date, et cetera. In the last board meeting or two, some commissioners asked to see kind of a ticker, right? A tracking mechanism to see where all these deals are in this 11-step process. Lorraine will be presenting that in the development update coming soon, but I just wanted to clarify this is step 4 of 11 steps.
That's right.
I do have a question. Just looking at the per unit costs, they seem to be lower than what we've been seeing in other transactions. And is there any more information about?
Yep.
It looks like a little over $210 a door.
Yeah, so we had Journeyman Construction that I brought to the board, and I looked at Lorraine, but I think it was like $214 a door. Is that right? Pretty darn close. What was this one? I gotta look again. 212. So we've seen other ones. It's different based upon the amenities. So like some of the deals, like the Lynn deal that we just walked, you missed that one, but that was a couple years ago. But that one was like $260 a door. Was what that one cost? And so it's all about the bells and whistles on what the project is going to look like. I'd say this is he's done 3 deals with the San Antonio Housing Trust. I've seen one of those 3 deals. And are quality developments, and it fits into the market. So he is an experienced builder, and I do believe his pricing.
Thank you.
With no other questions, I'll take a motion on item number 7, Resolution 6751.
So moved.
We have a first, do we have a second?
Second.
A first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as Lorraine's getting situated, just wanted to preface her presentation and add to what Tim said. We just visited the Josephine Apartments, our new development, right, blocks from the Pearl. It was an incredible development with 50% of the 259 units affordable. This is not only putting new affordable units into the San Antonio market in a highly sought-after area, but it's setting the organization for financial success. In the coming years, the organization, just that one property alone, in the coming years, will get up to $1.8 million in just fees alone. In the course of 5 years, every time it's sold, we benefit from it financially. In year 5, $7 million. In year 10, $4 million. In the course of 20 years, that's $23 million that comes to the organization to do the very things Tim mentioned: support public housing units, support social services, help us with the risk mitigation fund. So that's long-term planning, long-term financial investment, not only into our portfolio, but to the sustainability of this organization. So that was just one example that we just saw an hour ago. And of course, Lorraine's going to talk about the entire portfolio, but I think we got a real example what this looks like and what it could do an hour ago. So I'm excited about Lorraine kind of talking about what else we're doing across the portfolio.
Very good. Well, good afternoon. And as Michael mentioned, I'll be providing you with a development update, and it's important to note that this is as of the beginning of the fiscal year in July of last year. But every month, we provide you with this update on a spreadsheet that shows you how it moves through the approval process and then into construction and what have you. So what we wanted to do today is break it down a little further so that you could see it all together. So for example, what is currently under board consideration is the one that Tim just mentioned, Creekside at Lookout. And it will provide a total of 232 units at 60% and 80% of area median income and 50% at market. Approximately $50 million is the total development cost. And as Tim mentioned, this is a PFC 303 deal. And this is where it's located within the city of San Antonio. So District 10, again, in areas where we haven't been able to penetrate. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us to provide affordable workforce housing. Next section is board approved. And look at that, 15 projects that have been approved. And they vary with regard to financing structure. So we've got 4% in there, 9% tax credits, public or PFC deals, as well as one essential function bond deal. Those 15 projects will total approximately 4,400 units. And you can see the unit mix. It provides for every economic level, from 20% AMI all the way up to market, and the specific breakdown as a total, as a group. And here's where they're, I'm sorry?
That's excellent.
Oh, thank you. And here's where they're located. You'll notice up north, District 8 and District 9, we've got 3, and those are the PFC deals. Again, areas that we have not been able to penetrate, and it provides us the opportunity to provide workforce housing in much-needed areas. And then you'll see towards the bottom, those are our tax credits, and of course, they're gathered around the areas that score the highest with TDHCA. Next category is under construction. We have currently 8 projects under construction. The majority are multifamily, but we do have our Victoria Commons townhomes. Right now, there are 4 that have been sold, 4 that are under contract, and 9 currently under construction. With regard to our multifamily, of those projects, they total approximately 1,200 units, and again, varying AMI levels from 20% all the way up to market. Project funding, again, deals with PFCs, 9%, 4%. We do have a HUD 221D4. And then there is our COSA housing bonds. Here are the areas of the city that they're located in, the districts which they represent. And again, these are the ones under construction. Next, when they're almost finished with construction, we start leasing or pre-leasing our units to work towards stabilization and conversion. So right now, we have 5 properties that fall within that category. And what this means is that as soon as they're filled, we start working towards what we call stabilization, to hold steady our occupancy as well as our debt coverage ratio for 90 days, so that we can then convert our construction loan to a permanent loan. Once we do that, then DSNR hands that project over to Miranda's group in asset management, and that's how we transfer that. But you'll see that there's 5 projects in stabilization and conversion. Again, a variety of unit mixes, and they're represented by 4%, 9%, and a HUD 221D4 funding structures. And here's where they lay within the city. Next, future development. Now, this is just 2. As we mentioned in our last meeting, we're looking at repositioning, so there will be many, many more, but right now, these are the 2 that we originally thought of when we first started at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is Lincoln Courts and Westway. Here's where they lie within the city. Now, the next one is bond issuance. Sometimes there are projects that come to us and all they want is for us to issue bonds, which means we have no ownership interest in the property. We simply issue the bonds and we gain fees from that. So Ingham Square is one of them. Los Arcos et Vida, which had a grand opening earlier this year, it was another one. And then Sacred Heart is one that's still yet to close, but is coming in the future. Here's where they lie within the city. District 7, District 5, and District 4. Now, another category is how are we helping with SHIP, with the city's strategic housing implementation plan. And so aside from what we build and what we contribute to, we have also contributed by providing project-based vouchers to projects where we have no ownership interest in, or we're not even in most cases, the bond issuer. But we have one called 425 San Pedro, and these are permanent supportive housing developments, as well as commons at Acequia Trails. And both are currently under construction.
And Lorraine, if we could just add that 425 is across the street, we can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
We drove by. And here's where they are within the city. Now, you had been asking, could you help for us to help you better understand where they fall within the development process? And as they move through the board, and as Michael and Tim mentioned, there's more. Once we get final approval, we still have to get to closing, and then we go into construction and the whole 9 yards. So what we did was develop this guide for you, like a Gantt chart, that shows you how it moves through the development process, and it's by funding type, because they'll each have different steps that they have to go through. But this, for example, is our 4% tax credit and bonds. And so you'll see the top 3, they've already hit conversion or final endorsement. So now we've transferred those over from the development department over into Miranda Shop and Asset Management. The next ones that you'll see on the list are going through stabilization and working towards that conversion process, and then on down the line. Some of the ones on here you'll see, because there are 4% tax credit and bonds, they've opted for a 3-year carry forward, which means that the developer now has 3 years to put it, to get it funded. So they may sit for a little bit, but we'll keep you posted about how they progress through this process. Next is a 9% tax credit, and forgive me, that slide has an error, but it's just 9% tax credits. There are no bonds attached to these types of funding projects. And again, following through, they do have different timing. We have a full application that's due at the beginning of the year. We submitted and partnered and submitted 5 applications. Right now, it looks like we've got 1 for this current year that will be awarded, which is the Legacy at Lackland. Awards don't happen until the last Thursday in July, so we're still waiting and we're still hopeful, but we're watching that log and we've maintained our position. The next one are the PFC deals. So as Tim mentioned about the final approval, that is just to get us to closing. Once that PFC deal closes, now we've got to get it into construction and finish that out. Now, you will have some PFC deals such as Augusta Flats, and you'll see once it hit construction start, it says acquisition of existing. So there'll be no construction. It's an existing development. And so we've marked those other categories as NA. But this is a way for us to show you how it's moving through the system, and it's our first try at it. So if you have any recommendations or advice about how you'd like to see it, we can always make those changes.
This is super helpful, the whole entire presentation. Thank you so much. One wondering I have is, I'm thinking about the work we're doing that's future-facing to ensure that any of these projects, when they hit maturity, 10-year, 15-year, and we're thinking about bringing them into the portfolio and they're in bad shape, right? That I know that we're now in a new relationship with more teeth in the agreements that allow for that to take place. Where would we mark that on here to know, I'm assuming anything December 2023 and beyond is under that new arrangement? I don't know what we're calling that, and I don't know where we could indicate here to say the conversations have been had.
It's gonna be all of these new deals. So
Security.
since 2024.
2024,
Yeah,
okay.
July 2024. Anything.
So River Breeze down.
Right. And in fact, River Breeze closed today.
Nice.
So congrats to our project manager, brought in $500,000 today.
Today.
That's awesome. And what do we call that, so I don't keep, like, trying to figure out how to reference it? What is it called? Is it like a stronger
say,
MOU, or is
We
it
were,
a?
we were referring to it as, you know, as they exit the compliance period, but there might be is it just a new agreement?
Yeah, so what we did, there's a clause in the agreement that says,
Reserves are made.
what we do is we have an assess and a P&A done, or something similar. Sometimes the bank's doing it, so we don't have to pay for it. And then in the agreement, it says before cash flow is paid. These things are negotiated with the lenders, by the way, so sadly, the words are not exactly the same every one, but normally is it year 7? I think it's year 7 or so, approximately year 7 and around year 12. We have a capital improvement plan, and we say, listen, pursuant to that P&A, we want to make sure when we buy it back, it's in quality. And so provided that there's cash flow, there are some, variables here, but if there's cash flow, before it's paid out to the developer and us, which is split 50/50, we put it back in the project. There is risk. Diane and I had a conversation this morning, wherever she is, and but we had one where it's called Tampico. We'll probably bring it back to you because it's not doing well, and that one, there's not enough cash flow because their operating costs were too low, and as we're trying to figure this out, like in that situation, the project actually looks good, but we worry about it long term because the operating costs is just not cash flowing right now, and it's a newer development. So, but I would digress, but there could be other problems too. Like there's not a, every time we say, what can we do better? Or what did we learn from this? And we'll have a conversation with Summer about that, one of our lawyers.
Do we have oversight? Do we believe the P&As are done by the lenders are in our best interest or?
Well,
the development partner.
We'll look at them, but they want to make sure, because they lent money on it, that it benefits, they're protected.
They're protected.
And actually, when we had the conversation on it, either yesterday or the day before, right before the closing, they said this benefits us as well. Because when it sells, it goes, if it hypothetically, worst case scenario, it goes under, they want to have a quality building rather than all the money going out to both Opportunity Home and the developer. So they actually like the provision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add, Lorraine went through the chart and to Commissioner Contreras' point, it is very helpful, but it also gives us a glimpse of what what we're expected to see in 2026 and 27. If you look under the 4% deals in the year 2021, we had 1 deal. In 2022, we had 0 deals. And in 2023, we only had 2. So there was a gap in activity. But if you look at the first 4 deals, you can see they were induced in 2020, but we didn't see the completion until 2024. So that cash flow that Tim talks about, it takes a while to come to the organization. So for the next 2 or 3 fiscal years, we're going to see the effects of doing no activity from 2020 to 2024, and we're going to have none of that cash flow coming in. So there's a big gap that's coming down the pike in the coming years. Of course, if you see the 4% beginning in June, we started this development engine all over again, and so we won't see the effects of this until another 3 to 5 years. But I want you to be aware that because of that gap, we're going to see the cash flow not coming in for the next few fiscal years. And if you look in the PFC deals, between the last one done was in December 2020, and for nearly 4 years we did no activity in that space until last year in September. So, all this to say is just a heads up that we'll see that effect trickling in, and that, how to describe that? I don't want to use the C word, consequence, but we'll see.
A lot of those times, we will see the benefits of the cash flow until it's up in the occupancy. Yeah, the nice thing on the PFC deals, which Michael mentioned, there's not very many of them, but those at least we get $250 upfront fee, and sometimes we get a development fee, as well on some of these deals. But really, the ongoing revenue that supports our organization, Lorraine's my department, it takes a while to get them going. And but once they're going, it's running like a train. But when you stop the train, it takes a while to get going again. Thanks.
Are there any questions from the board on the development update? Good. Commissioner Powell, I know you're.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about that, the position that we're in right now, and luckily I think that we're in a position to be generating, every meeting, we hear that there are many, many needs across our properties, and we know that these revenues don't just pay, as much as we love the two of you, they don't just pay for you, they go back and pay for other things we need in the system, because as much as we would all love for there to be enough income coming in from rent and enough subsidy coming in from the federal government, that is just not the case. The amount of funding that we receive for a project like Via Tranquesi is not sufficient to pay for the improvements like security cameras. So we have to generate that revenue some other way, and that's what we're doing here. And because of the policies of this organization, we stopped doing that for a number of years. So there wasn't as much funding to make improvements at properties. And now we're doing it again so that there's income to pay for the needs of our residents.
Exactly, excellent point. And that we are doing it by doing different structures, right? Because each one will contribute differently. 4% might take a long time to get us our developer fee, but at closing, we get an issuance fee, which is huge. 9%, same thing. We might look at getting developer fee over 7 to 10 years. PFC deals, we'll get something up front, and then and maybe by year 5, we'll have a big hit. So being able to do them, the different structures, helps tremendously so that it helps fill that lag.
And I also just want to clarify, and I know Tim alluded to this, but there were serious concerns about PFC activity across the state of Texas. Much of that in the prior legislative session and this session has been addressed, although some of those changes now could impact us and the work that we do that generates revenue for this organization and for our residents. But I just want to be clear again, we never participated in those types of deal structures. Do we have any transactions in the pipeline right now with any of the developers who are taking advantage of any of those structures? You may not be able to answer that question.
I don't think we do, right? I mean, the ones I was thinking about were the traveling HFC that we had to just do bond issuance.
Now, most of the developers, and I know NRP, Franklin, I'm unaware they ever did those. I'm surprised if they did.
Yeah, and so just to be clear, when those transactions occurred, a lot of people thought, well, this is a bad structure. PFCs are bad.
Yes.
But that's what we use it for. We work with local elected officials. We work with neighborhoods. We're not doing the kinds of things where this was taking properties off the tax roll with no benefit back to the community.
Right. So just to talk about that real quickly, in San Antonio with traveling HFCs, there was $10 million of taxes revenue that's been brought off up to a month ago just by small, like Pecos Housing Authority, which has a Pecos Finance Corporation. They've done like 100 deals or 60 deals. That's a huge number, but it's a town of almost nobody. And they're taking them off. And what has happened is they're undercutting both the San Antonio Housing Trust and us on the deal terms. So like on our PFC deals, one of my put in front of you, you can see the business terms, but they're getting like 10% of the tax savings, and that's much less. And so developers are going to whoever the lowest, the best prices for them. And so, but what's really happening is that most of those are not new construction deals. They're taking existing deals off the tax rolls or that are already built that are Class C deals. And I say Class C, meaning that they're already R50 at 80. So you're not getting any new affordability, but the local San Antonio is still paying for the police, still paying for the roads, still paying for the schools, but it's not happening.
And they take them off.
These are dirt deals, so they're coming up. We actually have looked at taking existing off the tax rolls, and we're looking at a second one. But when we do that, there's a lot of thought put into it. Where part of town is it in? I'm not doing it. Are they Class A properties? Whereby I can tell you, like the land deal we just did, it's $800 a month savings from a market rate to a 60% AMI unit per month.
That $800 savings to a family
To a
living in
family.
that unit.
Absolutely. $800 a month. That's a tremendous amount of money. They would not be able to live there. So to live in the Pearl area, as I just mentioned, you have deals in there. That's workforce housing where people work. And if you don't get in deals, and we had this conversation earlier at the lunch, that when the market turns around again, you're not going to be able to get in there because the rents are going to be so darn high. Anyway.
Thank you.
I digress.
If there are no other questions, we can move on to item number 9.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you. Update and discussion regarding CDI, Community Development Initiatives. Jose Moscoto, Chief Operating Officer.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just preface also, quick introduction to Jose and Susan's presentation. We talk a lot over the course of the last months and weeks about development and affordability, but we need to remind ourselves as an organization that beyond the sticks and bricks, we do a lot of work on wraparound services, and that's really a core function of who we are. And this team, and the irony is, we just talked about development, we're transitioning to CDI, and the person who's led this effort the last 10 months during this transitional period for the organization, Susan Ramos-Sossaman, who served as interim director of development services, while doing the CDI job full-time, she did an incredible job in that 10-month transitional period. She got some support with our CEO when he joined us in November, and it was only until recently, I think, that she finally got to let go of DSNR and now fully function, 100% dedicate her time to CDI, but in the interim, she did a great job with development services, a great job at CDI, and what better than to have a social worker background person at the helm. We have, Susan's doing an incredible job, and I'm excited that she and Jose are going to tell you more about what we're doing with the wraparound services.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michael just stole my whole
Oh,
intro.
sorry.
And that's absolutely fine. I just was going to just tie in the fact that while the primary mission of this organization, you hear a lot about financials, you hear a lot about sticks and bricks and development. One of the components of any agency that sets any other agency apart from regular affordable housing providers is the level of resident services provided at their sites. And was just going to introduce Susan as our Community Development Initiatives Director to provide the details of that. So, Susan.
She's worthy of 2 introductions.
There you go. She gets 2.
All right. So let me see. All right. So I'm Susan, and I am fortunate to be in this position. I want to quickly introduce my team. I have Sonia Aguida, who's the Community Resource Manager, Angelica Anchondo, who's the CDI Manager, and Samantha Suarez, who's the Assistant Director for CDI. They didn't want me to introduce them, so I did it first. So before I talk about the updates and accomplishments, I want to give you a little bit of background for CDI. So our primary funding comes from 4 sources. We have a public housing add-on that provides funding for EDS. We have HUD competitive grants that fund Jobs Plus, FSS, and Ross. We have many grants that we compete for to help support the Connect Home initiative. And then, of course, we have MTW dedicated funds that support Connect, resident leadership, and youth programming. So most of our programs and services will fall into one of these 4 categories. They'll either be promoting self-sufficiency, which is Jobs Plus, Ross, and FSS, Age in Place, which is our elderly and disabled services, resident leadership, which is resident council, resident advisory board, and then youth services, which is a plethora of services that are geared to youth to include after-school programs, scholarships, back-to-school events, and Louise, so holidays and gifts. This is a map to show our reach. We have our programs throughout our public housing portfolio. FSS is located at 25 of our properties and Section 8. Ross is at 17 properties. Connect Home is available to all of our properties, and Jobs Plus is dedicated to Lincoln Heights. We have on-site services provided by partners at some of our properties as well. Avanza Head Start is located at Alazan. 11 Kids is located at Riverside and Westway. His Bridge Builders, which is an after-school program as well, is offered at Casiano. Big Mama's Safe House is at Alazan. Center for Healthcare Services is at Victoria Plaza, and Trancasey, and American Indians in Texas is at Trancasey as well. So lots of services available to our folks that live in the portfolio. In our multifamily properties, so we have services geared for multifamily and then services for our elderly and disabled. FSS is one of the programs for our multifamily properties, and key attributes is that we're averaging right now 956 average active participants. In a year, we average a little over 1,000. When you look at the entire population of FSS, their income averages 8,000. When you isolate only those that are employed, the income jumps to 18,000. Our age range is 19 to 72. 78% have children. 74% have a high school diploma, and 48% are employed. I thought it was important to include the number of families that have children because that shows our reach. So although we may only have 956, if most of them have 3 children, we serve the household. So our reach is much larger than that number. So the Jobs Plus program, like I mentioned, is located at Lincoln Heights. And so that program is a self-sufficiency program as well. They serve 100, currently active participants is 133. Their age range is 18 to 74. Their average income, isolated for those employed, is 16,000. And very similar, 68% have children in their homes, 65% have a high school diploma, and 48% are employed.
Quick question about the 296 who were work able?
Yes.
Is that cumulative? I'm just comparing it to the active participants number.
So that is the number, that's where Samantha, that is the number. So the total units is 338, so that work able are that subcategory of folks that meet that criteria.
At Lincoln Heights, yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the Ross program, it's a little different. It's more assessments and referrals, so you don't necessarily sign up for the program. And it's available to 17 of our properties. And I thought it was neat to share this graphic to show, where our folks who participate in Ross services, where they live. And you could see that they're overwhelmingly represented from Alazan, Marisol, and Castellano. And then we have smaller participation in our smaller properties. We do have, plans and initiatives to grow that participation in our smaller properties. But I just thought that was a neat graphic to share. And once again, Ross serves a bigger age range. It's not just self-sufficiency, so you see 8 to 79. And then the employed average is very similar, 15,000, 79% have children in their families, 68 diploma, 37% are employed. Our elderly and disabled services, which is offered here at this property, is available to anybody who resides at one of our EDS properties. And I wanted to add the eligibility for our other services. Although anybody can be eligible for our services provided by our resident service specialist, we offer food programs that through the San Antonio Food Bank and through the City of San Antonio, and we have to implement their eligibility. So, we sometimes get complaints that, it should be inclusive into our disabled residents who reside in our properties, and it's not, and we don't have any leverage to alter those eligibility requirements. So our key point with an EDS is that we assess, we refer, and we engage. And so you can see that, we've assessed 555, we've referred 757, and it's a total of 1287. So some residents get several referrals, and then the 1702 is just residents who participated in one of our events. So get to the fun part. So our accomplishments. So this is an opportunity for us to brag and to let y'all know what we've been working on. So like I mentioned, FSS, although our number is 956, we serve well over 1,000 throughout the year. one of our key areas for FSS is the participants have an opportunity to earn an escrow, right? So as their income increases, their escrow account increases. So we have 389 current participants who have the ability to and are currently earning escrow. We've had 40 graduates recently. This is a really proud moment to say this one, 9 have moved out of housing, and we don't see that often. And so we're actually moving that needle and getting folks to become fully self-sufficient and moving out of housing. And then, of course, 3 purchased their own home. So we're very proud of that stat. We've awarded over $500,000 in escrow. 85 participants have gained employment. We've made referrals, and we've partnered with our community to provide financial literacy, career readiness, and education. Yeah, they are. He said those are pretty good numbers. Thanks, Dad. Jobs Plus. So we have 133 currently enrolled in Jobs Plus, and out of those, we have 119 enrolled in the disregard. So the disregard is the different incentive that's available to Jobs Plus. Instead of earning an escrow, they get to keep any increases. So if their rent increases, if their income increases, their rent should increase. It does not, and that money stays with them. And so they could invest it, they could use it in any way they need, and that's the disregard. So we have 5 participants who recently completed a food handlers class. We included this as an example of some of the career readiness. We understand that hospitality is, booming in San Antonio. We wanted to position our residents to get those jobs as they continue to open. We have partnerships. A couple that we highlighted is Providence Place, who provides a parenting class and diapers and wipes to anybody who attends. And we extend all our Jobs Plus services beyond just Jobs Plus. So anybody in Opportunity Home can also participate. And we have a health club that's offered by UT Health. And then we also offer the education component, which is a high school diploma. Ross, as I mentioned earlier, really does, we do surveys, we do assessments, referrals. Before we applied for the Ross grant, we completed a survey of 20% of the 17 properties we were going to identify in the grant, and we asked them questions about what they were concerned with, what were their interests, and most of the results came back they were interested in employment and increased wages. And so we are working with Ross to engage more partners to build our career readiness and to support them addressing those items of concern. EDS, like I mentioned, Project Hope, CSFP, better known as Cheese Box. Those are food programs that we offer that from the San Antonio Food Bank. You see the numbers in participation. We have lots of folks participating in those programs. Our HEAL program is our partnership with the city, and that's those congregated meals where we have nutritious lunches provided on-site in a community designed to build engagement and community. Botanical Gardens, I think some of y'all have heard about this one. We have a partnership now where we're transporting our residents to the Botanical Gardens, and they're getting to experience that facility. And so we continue to make trips to that, to the gardens to see that. And then we're just continuing to work with our OATS, which is our computer literacy partner, Project Cool. You probably see that on TV when Catholic Charity starts doing that, all those box fans. We have Bingo Size. Apparently that's a happening thing. So that's when I had to ask what it was. So it's like when you play bingo while engaged in questions and answers on falls and healthy eating. So it's like just something to get them engaged and informed. So I think that's fun. And then, of course, our nutrition programs. Connect Home, we're always moving on with Connect Home, trying to get some more classes scheduled and devices awarded. The neat thing about Connect Home is that anytime any of our residents attend a training class, at the end of the series, they do get a refurbished device. And so that helps them get connected, whether it be for job search or for education. We've had classes dedicated for seniors, adults, youth. We've awarded 77 devices to seniors, 125 to adults, and 18 to youth. And then we've also had grant funding to refurbish computer labs on some of our properties. Resident leadership. So we continue to work on this one. This one's been a little bigger of a challenge than our other initiatives. So we currently have 4 active resident councils, and we're actively engaging our residents to try to form a resident council. It's elections. People have to agree to run for office and then to actually serve in that capacity. So we continue. We have a dedicated staff member, and so we continue to work on recruiting resident councils. And then our youth services. So we have a whole bunch of these. These are not like officially funded by any run program like FSS or Ross or Jobs Plus, but this is just initiatives and services that are important to us. I think we've been hearing a lot about the number of youth that make up our population, and so it's important that we acknowledge that and provide them with services. We have a partnership with the Museum where they open the night just for us, and we take our Opportunity Home kiddos. They get to play, they get to learn, and they get to do this alongside of staff. So the initiative is intended to build that rapport and that relationship with our staff and our residents. So while our staff and their children are playing alongside, then it's a little easier when you have a problem to go to that person because you've already built that trust. We have books that we get, thousands of books donated, and we distribute them throughout the year. Levin's Kids, it's an after-school care program that we have at Riverside and Westway. Like I mentioned before, his Bridge Builders is an after-school program at Casiano. We partnered with Family Services, their Teen Tech Center, to provide digital training for our teens during spring break and other breaks from school. And we recently made it a point, because we also award scholarships and REACH awards, right? So perfect attendance, honor roll, and scholarships through our funding, but we are also just determined that we're going to win some of these external ones. The HAI, which is our insurance, they had scholarship competition, so we submitted 13 applications for Southwest NARO. We submitted 5, and then we threw our hat in the ring again for the poster contest. So NARO has a poster contest, and we used to compete, and then for some reason we stopped. Well, we submitted 18, so fingers crossed that we win. And so those are some of the activities and accomplishments. I won't go through all of the MOUs, but I wanted just to provide that for y'all so that y'all can see that we have several MOUs with partners that are from basic needs to healthcare, mental health, just to fun and playing, and to digital learning. We have other MOUs that we're going to renew that are also focusing on digital and financial learning and literacy. And we have match commitments. So every time we apply for a HUD grant, they ask for a match commitment. So we show that we have community partners who intend to work with us. And so those match partners are listed, and with the services that they provide. An example is like Workforce. They provide us with resource assistance, job fairs, and it comes with a value, and we need to achieve that value so that we can be eligible for those grants. So we listed those. And then our upcoming events, of course, are our Mother's Day, our Father's Day. We have resident council training, and then we have our resident advisory board launch. That's our new initiative where we're going to, in addition to resident councils, we're going to form an advisory board that it's going to be represented by Section 8 and Public Housing, and their main objective is to be that voice and give us feedback on plans. So I'm working closely with Ayanna and her team in SDI, and so whenever they have a plan, like an MTW plan, then this group would be the ones to hear the presentation and provide feedback. And then we have scholarships and REACH awards that will be happening as well. One thing that I did not include, but I was reminded that I should mention, is that we're also going to relaunch or reintroduce our nonprofit. So the Education Investment Foundation was our nonprofit arm where we would raise funds for our resident services. And so we're going to relaunch that, but we're going to make some amendments to it. You know, the Educational Investment Foundation doesn't sound as inclusive as it should. The nonprofit in its scope lists that it's to promote self-sufficiency, it's to promote any kind of resident services, and that name kind of is limiting. So we're going to change the name. And then we're just going to make some smaller amendments to the board composition, just to make it more seamless and for it to be more efficient in its operation. So that's going to be happening soon. Working on making those changes, then we submit a certificate of amendment to the Texas State Secretary, and then we're going to be off and running. So you'll be hearing more of that soon. And then our other opportunities is we're just going to continue to pursue grants as a social worker. I have more than 20 years, I'm going to show my age, grant writing. So, you know, that's something that I want to continue to do so that we can support our programs. We're going to formalize more partnerships. We're going to utilize the assessments that we complete to identify needs, build on best practices, and most importantly, we're going to engage the residents. We can read every book and watch any YouTube and come up with ideas, but if we're not talking to our residents, we're not doing our job. So our focus is going to be on the residents. I told my staff I was going to do it fast. They're timing me. Any questions?
Oh, go ahead. I do have a question. It looks like we have about 4 current MOUs and then some that are being renewed, and then about twice that total number, about 15 or so in development. How many MOUs did we have in place, say, 12 months ago?
I'm going to say 7.
So we're dramatically expanding the number of MOUs that we have and the breadth of entities that we're partnering with.
Yes, because most of our relationships have always been informal, and then our evaluation has been anecdotal, and so we're trying to move to more formal processes. It just helps us, and it's for like keeping the programs going, so no matter what staff are here, those structures are in place. Right now, every time somebody leaves, they take their partners with them, and then we start from zero again. So we're trying to formalize projects.
That's a really exciting and hopeful development. And I think this is equally as important as the development side of the House. This is why we are a moving to work agency and why we applied for that. And so the idea that we would have, I think the moment of the dashboard is over, but a dashboard-like type of summary so that we know how many partners we've engaged with, and it's absolutely critical that we be able to formalize and collect data so that we can evaluate what's working and what isn't working. Not that qualitative data, anecdotal data isn't important, but the quantitative assessment is also, I think, as you're well aware from being a grant writer, that's the foundation of our being able to reach out to even more partners and funders and show that there's a value add to working with us.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's going to help us with grants, and it will help us with our nonprofit arm. We can only fundraise based on what we can show them that we've accomplished.
Thank you. It's really an exciting report. Thank you.
The thing I keep thinking about is if the majority of our residents are children, and we know that based on a report that our organization puts out every year on the state of student learning in 3rd through 8th grade, less than half of our students are reading on grade level, less than a third are doing math on grade level. It's broken up by council district, and you know the places like Council District 5 and others have some of the lower attainment rates. It makes me wonder, with our youth success pillar in particular, how we can have a more strategic goal as an organization around impacting the literacy rates of our own resident youth. And how do we make that something that we're committed to, something that we expect of our partners who are either partnering with us or using some of our facilities. I think partnerships are great, but if our students still can't read on grade level, it doesn't matter whether you're going to go to Harvard or you're going to apply to purchase a car, get an apartment, or be on food stamps. You need to read. It is a civil right issue. And so my just wondering is, I know in the past we've had data sharing agreements with districts. We have a way to understand what students' academic performance is. How can we be more bold about seeing our children have really strong academic gains and go out to the community and ask for partnership and raise dollars and have some very strategic focus on ensuring that our resident children are taken care of. So I would be happy to be a thought partner with you in that arena. I'd also love for us to see, to see us taking a more strategic approach on closing some of the opportunity gaps for our youth.
For sure, we're definitely calling on you. And we are looking with our current partners who provide after-school care. They're wanting to expand. And so we're having those conversations, and we're requiring all of our folks that are on our properties that have MOUs to report back data.
Awesome.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, in behalf of the residents and myself, because, these numbers are important to whoever's sitting here, right? To highlight them, to let, to show what Opportunity Home is doing for our residents, right? And also picking off of Commissioner Contreras, I think that I understand that there's budget cuts and stuff, but also being innovative, and it's like, we can partner up with UTSA Roadrunners where they will do and have these, signing them up. I didn't know about it. I took my kid so he can get the help he needed. And so just exploring new partnerships as well in the future for our children.
Sure.
I also want to thank you, Susan, for the work you do. You're really busy, I guess.
Right?
So thank you for the opportunities that you give to the residents and that giving them things that they can do and be a part of. And I also echo what Commissioner Contreras said, is that we need to work with our children, especially the young ones, to make sure that they are receiving the training. And like she said, reading is important. And there's kids out there that can't write or read. And if we can work on that, and I'm sure, like she said, she would work with you on that issue, that we could, because organization is a lot of children, and so, and families. So, but I applaud the work that you're doing and that you will continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add 3 points real quick.
Please.
Susan introduced some of her leadership, but there's a team of 47 right behind them, working each day. It's an amazing team. We say wraparound services, and that's a service, but it literally is wrapping your arms around human beings every day. A few of you who walked into the building an hour ago were met with a hug by residents here who like to hug, and it's important to hug. But it's literally that wraparound service, right? And it takes, you have to be invested in it. You have to have the heart. It's not just a job, right? It's a commitment that's more than just a job, and this team is incredible. 2 other things real quick. Susan mentioned resident councils, and I didn't want to leave the meeting without acknowledging some resident council members here from Villa Trinquezi, and thank you for being here. I know they work, it's a robust council here as well as other properties. And then finally, Commissioner Powell mentioned MOUs. I know in the past we've had great MOUs with SAISD in terms of data sharing. We had a walking school bus program. There was great programming, and I've had some initial conversations with folks there, and they're excited to re-engage. So I know you're going to lead that as well. And then finally, you didn't mention Workforce Solutions Alamo. Do you mind mentioning quickly where we're at for the board?
So Workforce Solution Alamo, we all know that Adrian Lopez is the CEO, and so he was my old boss. I was just chatting him and telling him to send our letter of support for our bond. And so we are going to build on our relationship with them. They are currently negotiating their ready-to-work contract, and they're going to build this into the contract so that we can do some of the screening and that we can also earn some dollars doing that. And so we're going to formalize our partnership and just be more involved. He has a consortium that we were involved in years ago, and then we fell out, and so we're going to put ourselves back in there so that we can work with the partners who are providing that workforce. And that's the key, right? So there's limited funds and there's only 47 staff, but the way we expand our services is to partner with our community. And so we have workforce that already has the tools in place to provide that career readiness and employment, and so we're going to formalize that project and relationship.
Any other comments? Awesome. Thanks, Susan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Now, I'm going to take one option. We've heard it a couple different times today, but there are a few things that stuck out. We've re-engaged in the development side. We've activated our previously sponsored nonprofit. We have re-engaged the city of San Antonio and have close to cemented our status as a good partner with them, as well as this with Adrian Lopez's group, the consortium. I appreciate sometimes it's easy for the board to ask, but Michael, I appreciate your leadership in driving staff. Staff, I appreciate what y'all do because it's y'all's teams that do the hard work. But these are all huge for the community. We know what we're facing. We know what's in front of us from a federal level for funding, even the state level. So all of these all help. It can't, as y'all know, we have to have those funds. We've got to look for those things. But as Commissioner Garcia had commented once, we can't lose sight that we are a people organization. And to coin the CEO's phrase, we are a children's organization too, because we have so many children. And it's a cog in part of that wheel that drives this organization. And I appreciate what DSNR, what development does, because that's how we help fund it when times when we can't count on our state and federal partners to come through with more funding. So great job so far. We really enjoyed listening to these updates. We're going to recess the regular board meeting or the special board meeting, go into the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. We don't need to do a roll call?
No, we've not stopped between the meetings, so we can continue.
Okay. So from a roll call perspective, everybody's here. I'll call the Housing Facility Corporation meeting to order. The Board of Directors and its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The Board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of this meeting. Are there any citizens to be heard for the Housing Facility Corporation?
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Great. We have minutes from the April 2nd Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. I will take a motion to approve.
Motion, we approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second for the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meetings are approved. We have one consent item, Resolution 25 FAC-03-06, inducing the participation of the Housing Facility Corporation to serve as sole member of the general partner, landowner, and general contractor for the Lakeside Law transaction, and authorizing all filings and agreements with TDHCA in connection with the application for low-income tax credits and the negotiation, execution of a memorandum, MOU, and other matters in connection therewith. Since it's a consent item, I will take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent item. I'll take a motion to adjourn the Housing Facility Corporation.
So moved.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will open back up the special board meeting. Our vice chair has some comments.
It brings back a lot of memories to come and visit this place, as my parents used to live here, and my mother was resident council president of this community for 13 years. But I'd like to thank our community manager, Lori Trevino, who used to be my assistant manager at a property down the street. And thank you for the job that you're doing, and thank you and your staff for allowing us to come here and take part of your day to have our meeting here. It's appreciated. Also the maintenance supervisor, Hector Ramos, the assistant community manager, Dora Garcia, the senior maintenance tech, Hector Ramos, the resident coordinator, Imani Rosser, and the leasing agents, Monica, who used to be my CSS where I live, and Sarah Mendez, Maria Garza, and Michelle Ornelas. Thank you all, and also to the residents, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking part of your day. And I know you heard a lot, and a lot of it you didn't understand, but know that we are here to make your lives better. Also, we're going to be going away for a little bit, but there are snacks in the back on the table over there for you, some sandwiches, some chips, and some drinks. Please feel welcome to enjoy them.
With that, go ahead.
The board will now be entering in closed session under sections 551.074 and 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to consult with its attorney and consider the employment contract for the president and CEO. The time is 2:57.
Hello and welcome back to Opportunity Home San Antonio Special Board Meeting. The time is 4:10 p.m. Note, all board members remain in attendance. You may start the meeting.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Happy Fiesta.